the issues. And oh yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to Tuesday. Tuesday around here, because a lot of times it's about the food, is often referred to as Taco Tuesday. Hit it, man.
But more importantly, y'all know what today is, right? It's Taco
Tuesday! It just is. It's Taco Tuesday. By the way, I actually had meatloaf last night for Meatloaf Monday. I did. Are you jealous?
Yeah,
JP on the board.
Did not. I had old spaghetti and meatballs, though. It's a classic.
That's a classic.
Yeah.
That's good bachelor food.
Yeah, exactly. A little Texas toast in the air fryer.
A little carbon up. There you go.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Well, good deal. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm great. How about you?
Good. Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday.
No guests today. No guests today on purpose, because the depth of the stuff we got to talk about is enough that I just wanted to unpack it more. Which means y'all can certainly call in at any given time, though, and register your own opinions, text in, do all the things. But yeah, no guests today, but I still have a triple dipper filled up with stuff, so hit it, man.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper, 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. First out the gate, oh yeah, fool around, find out. That's where we are. Fool around and find out. Is it possible that we're finally seeing that A word, accountability? Like, I don't know, maybe they fooled around and they're finding out that there's a new sheriff in town and they're actually going to wind up getting something done. I got several stories on that, not the least of which is the fact that we now have an indictment that came down in that scuffle that took place outside the gate of the Newark ICE detention facility a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, fool around, find out. I got some good stories on that one. You'll love it. Number 1, Triple Dipper. Number 2, deportation machinations. There's been some new news. We have a new report from the Supreme Court of the United States. We have new efforts by the Trump administration to deport and then allow people to also self-deport, which apparently is actually working. So we'll talk about all that. The deportation machinations is number 2 on the Triple Dipper. And then a story I didn't get to yesterday, which is fine because I added to it, is blue state madness. So I'm going to make you really glad that you live here in the Southeast. Really glad. Those of y'all that are listening elsewhere, I apologize, but we're going to be mocking most of the rest of the states, at least the blue states anyway. Blue state madness is number 3 on the Triple Dipper. All right, you guys, let me move on over here to the Rightside Way opening monologue. And I'll just remind y'all that attorney Stan McDonald is, in fact, the daily sponsor of the Rightside Way monologue. He's a law firm partner at Wilmer and Lee in Huntsville, and he's a 30-year veteran in the practice of law, and he's a Rightside ruffian from way back. Stan McDonald, tell you more about him in a few minutes, but he is our daily sponsor of the Rightside Way. All right, I want to tell you right now, if you're live streaming the show, you're going to get a little more because in a few minutes, or as I get going here, JP is going to put a few pictures up on the screen to illustrate what I'm talking about. And it's worth it. If you want to see it, you can go to any one of our streaming platforms, including our website, rightsidemedia.org. All right, so here's the deal. This past weekend, Charlene and I were at Fort Benning, Georgia, visiting family. Love going down there. I love the fact that it's called Fort Benning again, by the way. And while we were there, we took the time to visit the National Infantry Museum. I had never been to the Infantry Museum, despite the fact that I'm an infantry officer myself. What an amazing facility. What a truly world-class place. And it does honor to the men who have served as infantry soldiers from the beginning of our nation until now. And I was really struck by the symbology of things. The displays that have the giant Ranger tab or the airborne wings and all of it. As a former infantry officer, a paratrooper, and a ranger myself, I felt like I was walking on hallowed ground. I mean, from the moment you walk up and you see the giant bronze Iron Mike statue standing under a rotunda at the front door, wow. I mean, the place was just incredible. But it wasn't just honorific to the high-ranking officers, right? It wasn't just about the generals and the brass. It was a focused series of displays and artifacts and presentations that honored the rank and file who have given up so much for so long to serve this great nation. And it was a good day. And it's open to the public, by the way, at no charge. So whether you've ever served yourself or not, I recommend a trip to Columbus, Georgia to see the Infantry Museum. It's worth it. Now, I will say this too. Not long ago, I spoke to a group of military retirees. Such amazing folks, many of whom I've known for years. And I told them I was proud to know them, proud to be affiliated with them, and proud of the military they had all served in so selflessly over the years. I told them about my own family with consecutive generations of service from my grandfather, my father, myself, and now my son, all having served in the U.S. Army. And pretty much every head in the room nodded in agreement when I said that I want our military back. I do. I want from my grandson what my son saw in me and what I saw in my father and my grandfather. Despite the fact that until most recently, Biden's Secretary of the Army, Christine Wormuth, had announced that she wanted to get away from what she called those legacy military families. Remember that? Why? Why would she say such a thing? Why would you want to get away from legacy military families? Well, because in Secretary Wormuth's, demented view, she said who has never worn a uniform, by the way, she was concerned that by encouraging young Americans to follow their dads, their moms, their uncles, their cousins into service would somehow do what she called developing a warrior caste, and that we don't need that. Well, I got news. I've said it before and I'll say it again. That is exactly what we need. We need a military that is so empowering, so excellent, so unashamedly strong, so feared and revered on the world stage that the younger generation sees it and says, I want to be a part of that. Now, I say all that with the actual hope and belief that we're heading in that direction. I do. I believe culture will follow. Or maybe it's really that culture is leading, but the reality is maybe the people of America spoke louder than the narrow-minded cultural progressive minority. And I don't know, I'm watching it and thinking, maybe even Hollywood's going to get back to making more movies like Top Gun Maverick that just simply make us proud of our sailors and soldiers and airmen and Marines. I remember back when there was an overt and active pro-America feel in Hollywood. People like Lee Marvin, Kirk Douglas, David Niven, Jason Robards, Audrey Hepburn, Paul Newman, they all served in the military. Ronald Reagan, his service didn't take him overseas, but many are not aware he actually enlisted for 5 years before the war, and he was in a National Guard cavalry unit. And even those who did not serve in uniform in Hollywood nonetheless loved and promoted the American military values and the warrior ethos, like John Wayne in The Sands of Iwo Jima or the Green Berets. Actors who did not agree with the national sentiments or had opposing political views still did not seem intent on tearing down the country. But too often today, we see the Hollywood award shows, they're just at their all-time lowest in ratings, with acceptance speeches that serve as rants against the very country that made the Hollywood elites rich and famous. And we hear that there are indeed conservatives in Hollywood who sometimes find themselves blacklisted, although more and more we're starting to see notable exceptions. Think about it. People like John Voight, Kevin Sorbo, Chris Pratt, Zachary Levi. I love it, though, when major actors or industry leaders or just good folks back home get an idea how to show troops that we care about them and that we want them to know it. Sometimes it's about taking the show to the troops, like when I got Ted Nugent's autograph in Baghdad, or when Bob Hope toured the world with his USO tours. But today, I want to tell you a story about something that probably a lot of you haven't heard about. One of those moments when some good folks got a good idea and they did something good for the men and women who were serving in Vietnam. And one piece of it still lives on, and it is epic. So sit back and listen to the story of what is known as the Lawman Mustang. So if you listen to this show for a bit, you may recall that I'm a car guy. I'm a frustrated car guy right now because years ago I sold my classic 68 Mustang. I don't have currently a classic muscle car to turn a wrench on, but that day is coming for sure. I feel certain. And the passion for classic cars, though, even when I don't have one, especially Detroit muscle from the 60s and early 70s, still really high on my list. And every single day, literally every day, I review the listings from websites like Barn Finds and Bring a Trailer. I'm always scouring through the Hemi Cudas, the GTOs, the Challengers, and Camaros, but my favorites, bar none, are the 69 and 70 Mustangs. The Boss, the Mach 1, with Cleveland's, Windsors, and Hurst shifters from the factory. I can tell you the VIN code for a Boss 302 and the difference between the headlight and taillight configurations for both 69 and 70. Every once in a while, though, there's one that stands out, special in all the world. And the 69 and 70 Boss 429 Mustangs were already rare and awesome and cool beyond belief. But then somebody got the great idea of building some special versions just to build morale among U.S. troops who were far from home. And thus, the Lawman Mustang came into play because of a drag racer whose name was Al Ekstrand. So as the story goes, Al was an avid drag racer. At the same time, he was a corporate lawyer, and because of his legal background, this became the basis for his name as the Lawman. He used it on his cars, on the drag strips when he visited. But as much as he enjoyed his day job, his true passion was the weekends as a drag racer, and he did remarkably well in the NHRA, holding several records at the time in his class. I mean, at the 63 NHRA Nationals, his car was the first to ever get under a 12-second quarter mile. His success and background led him to a partnership with Chrysler, and he campaigned a Hemi Charger, a big block Barracuda, all through the 60s. But in 1970, Al Ekstrand headed up the formation of what became known as the Lawman Performance Team in full partnership with Ford. And the idea was they were going to bring some of the latest Detroit muscle cars to the men and women of the armed forces who were all serving overseas. And this team of cars and drivers would help teach driving safety through performance clinics and all that, and demonstrations and films and seminars. So yeah, Ford teamed up with such major sponsors as Goodyear, Motor Wheels, Hearst, Hooker, B&M, and they created 6 of these supercars. And the sponsor names were all on the cars as well. And all the cars are built in Dearborn and then taken off the Ford assembly line and shipped off to Roy Steff Enterprises in Fairhaven, Michigan, every one of them modified and converted. And listen, right now on the screen, if you're watching the live stream, is a picture of one of them. I had this picture hanging on my wall as a high school kid. I mean, all of these cars were like Cobra Jet powered, but one of them was a Boss 429 shipped straight from the Carcraft factory to, Roy Steff Enterprises. And that Boss 429 was built to show not what you could order from the dealer, but on what one of those cars could do if it was put in the right hands. And what emerged was like something out of Mad Max. It's a blown Boss 429 with close to 1,000 horsepower. In 1970, close to 1,000 horsepower. So the Great Ford Military Performance Tour was launched. It's estimated that over 40,000 troops in places like Vietnam, Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines. Troops were loved on and got to place their hands on the coolest cars to ever roll on rubber of their time. Another picture's coming up on the screen right now that shows you a whole slew of Marines standing around one of those Mach 1s. And I'm telling you, the speed and safety demonstrations were everywhere. If there were troops there, even in Vietnam in the war zone, you wound up having the Ford Performance Team showing up. And then one day, the tour was over. Only 2 of the cars made it home. I don't know why. It's currently unknown what happened to most of them. But the supercharged Boss 429, known as the Lawman, painted in Ford Grabber Blue, it was found, and last year it was fully restored by pro wrestler Bill Goldberg, who's a car guy of car guys, bar none. I love that story for so many reasons. I love museums and the preservation of artifacts, just like I saw those in the Infantry Museum. And I love cars. And as a high school kid, like I said, I actually had a picture of that Lawman Mustang, that Boss 429 up on my wall. But I also love our military. And it gets me when people will go out of their way to do something special for our troops, like building morale by building an unparalleled hot rod and then shipping it all over the world so young soldiers can get a minute away from the doldrums of being away from home and smile and get their selfies made with it. That's just cool. And I appreciate it even more as I've gotten older. So yeah, contrary to what bureaucrat and former, thank God, former Army Secretary Christine Wormuth believes, we actually do need generational warriors. We need a military that is so empowering, so excellent, so unashamedly strong, so feared and revered on the world stage that the younger generation sees it and says, I want to be a part of that. And one of the ways we do that, by the way, is to take care of our troops. We need more things like the legend of the Lawman Mustang, because that's just one example of how you do it. And that's a wrap for the Right Side Way. Yeah, you ought to look it up. The Lawman Mustang. Listen, when Goldberg got that thing, it was a little rough, but it still ran. But he had that thing fully restored. And y'all, I'm going to tell you, it is an epic car. If you're a car guy, go look up the Lawman Boss 429. It is like on a bucket list item for me. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. More to come. Y'all stay tuned. we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Saving the world one soundbite at a time. Hey, before I go any further, got to tell you, Stan McDonald is indeed the sponsor daily of the Rightside Way monologue. Stan McDonald, partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee. He's a 30-year veteran in the practice of law in the North Alabama region. And I tell you right now, I know Stan personally, and I know also that he has been a warrior in the mix, like a right-side ruffian from way back on the things that we care about. He's an OG ruffian, if you will. But yeah, Stan McDonald is also represented his clients in literally thousands of real estate transactions over the years. He knows how to represent you in any local, state, or federal court. I like to say all the time, I say it, when Stan McDonald's on your side, you're going to have no greater friend, and likewise, your attorneys will have no greater foe. So here's how you get in touch with him. You ready? If you need an attorney in North Alabama, attorney Stan McDonald. The law firm is Wilmer and Lee. He's an America First family man. His phone number, 256-479-3020. That's Stan McDonald, 256-479-3020. And tell him you heard about it on Rightside Radio. Appreciate that. Oh, yeah. No representation made. The quality legal service be performed is great. The quality legal service for the lawyers.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
You may have just gotten a 10.
Step
right
back.
That was... I feel like that was a 10.
I felt like that was a 10.
I mean, I don't know how you could do much better than that.
Stuck the landing.
Yep, perfectly.
Charlene said yesterday, just go ahead and pre-record that thing. You have to keep doing it. I'm like, that takes all the fun out of it.
There's no fun in that anymore.
I got several text messages I'll get to, and you had one that came in on social media. What was that?
Oh, we have another wardrobe comment on here. We got Turgle from Rumble says, yeah, Lawyer Phil is here.
Lawyer Phil is indeed here.
Your tie on, yeah.
I was in court this morning. I was. Just pull off one hat, take off the who am I right now? I think I'm the radio guy. Okay.
Lawyer Phil on Radio Phil.
Whoop, whoop.
They cross-pollinate.
Jim from Athens says, Phil, love your monologue. It brought back high school memories from the very early 70s. 72 graduate, he says. My first was a 68 Barracuda Fastback. Oh, yeah, with a 318. Cream-colored, maroon interior. Sure wish I had that car now. Don't we all say that, man? Jim, I tell you what. I had my 68 Mustang, 289 small block board 30 over, had a Edelbrock Torker, Holly 600, hooker headers. That thing just ran. And that was my first baby. But life being life, we sold that baby so we could have our real first baby. And, no regrets, but one day I'll get back to a classic car. Dana from Athens suggested that it was Meatball Monday. Meatball Monday. I had meatloaf. Anyway, we're taking a break. We're coming right back. I got more. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Man, covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. Whew. I mean, it goes from like Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I mean, down to that loveliest little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the border from there to what we now get to once again call Fort Benning. Yes, we do, Fort Benning. And big old patches of North Georgia and Mississippi thrown in just for good measure. Hey, by the way, got an announcement to make, and then I'll go to the phones. But tonight, and some of y'all who do the text lines, you may get a special text. We rarely do this, but we will send one out tonight, just reminding everybody that we're kicking off a brand new podcast. This one is a big deal for us. It's called the Just Right Podcast with Phil Williams. And tonight, first edition of it, I interview former Navy SEAL Jared Hudson, who's now fighting human trafficking. And that is the first edition. We have 3 in the can already, several more being scheduled, but we're looking at a roughly weekly rollout on this. And this long form podcast is designed to get you an opportunity to hear in depth from some of the coolest people you'll ever run across. I mean, it's really something for me to sit there and be able to dialogue with them. But yeah, the Just Right podcast with Phil Williams kicks off tonight. You can get it on our YouTube. You can get it on rightsidemedia.org. You can get it on all of our socials. Where we at?
Well, so we'll be live premiering it on YouTube, by the way. And the link to the live premiere on YouTube will be in the text. For y'all who are in the text line, like you said, the link will be in that text.
Yeah.
So then after it's live premiered on YouTube, it'll also be posted on Phil's personal X page and on the website as well. So go check it out.
All right.
And audio podcast. Wherever y'all get the podcast of the show, there'll be an audio podcast for it on there as well.
And listen, there's been a lot of work on this one. I mean,
Yes.
we've had professional graphic designs. We have a new studio we built. I'm talking Butters and JP have both been neck deep in the weeds on the production end of it and getting things ready. And anyway, all said and done, we're pretty excited. I will tell you one more thing about it before I go to the phones, and that's that in honor of the new Just Right podcast, all of our merchandise at the Rightside Media store, rightsidemedia.org, the merch store, you can buy 10% off if you use the promo code Just Right. So how's that for cool? Get your t-shirts, coffee mugs, all the stuff, 10% off, Just Right promo code. All right, let me go to the phones. Wolverine Dan. Hey, buddy, that's 2 days in a row. How you doing?
Yes, sir. I'm back. I'm back as strong as ever. Listen, 3 quick takes.
Yeah.
Number 1, I just got that busting out a good workout, man. And you know who used to work out in the same place I did? I've not seen him in a long time. Is Sparky.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sparky's a really good guy. You got to meet him in person. He's a hell of a guy. Sparky, if you're listening, man, I miss you at the pool, bro, because I swim at Dublin Pool. Anyway, the other 2 takes is one is automotive related or vehicle related, and the also political. So let's start with the political one, then we finish with a good story.
Take it.
The political one, as far as I'm concerned, Bill, you know, your breaks talk about conflict of interest for Elon Musk possibly getting involved in the Golden Dome. Oh, excuse me, conflict of interest. I wonder how you could figure out the stock market, Nancy Pelosi, how you can get everything right. Everything's never wrong. You never lose money and you gain money like crazy. So maybe there might be a conflict of interest. What do you think, Phil?
I think I don't control those breaks, and I think that's crap. But no, I don't think we're going to see a conflict of interest. I don't think there's going to be any problem at all. And anything they do, they're going to cover this thing so much minute detail. The legals are going to be incredible. No one's getting a sole source bid contract. It's going to be perfect.
So there's, in my third take, 2 things, vehicle related.
Yeah.
First is a two vehicle. I had a 1976 Honda 754 4-stroker.
Okay.
Nice bike, very fast, and I love that bike. But I got rid of it just because, you know, I'm getting older, and I didn't, you know how it is. I just didn't feel comfortable behind it anymore. But I do have something that you might like, and I still have it, and I will not get rid of it. You know how they say, take it from my dead cold hands? Well, that's what you're going to have to do.
What you got?
I have a 1989 Mustang GT 25-year anniversary Fox body ragtop with a 5.0.
Do you really? What color? They came in silver, didn't they?
Red with a black top and white interior.
Oh man, that's a sweet ride.
Two color dash, black and red, and the doors are black and red. So
that's a sweet ride. Does it only come out on the weekends?
You know what? I don't take it out that much, but I do take it out, and I got a lot of response. And of course, I had to put a personalized plate. You know what it says, don't you?
I imagine it says Wolverine.
No, it's Wolf Dan.
Good enough.
I'm working on the Michigan side of it because we won a national championship, and I think the Tigers are going to win the World Series this year. So
you're all over the board now, brother.
I know. All right, man. Sorry, bro. All right. Hey, listen, go Mustangs. I love it.
All right. Take care, man. Man, I love this audience. Jack from Huntsville checked in. He says, my dad worked for Chrysler in the 60s, 70s, 80s, helped put a man on the moon down in New Orleans in the mid to late 60s, then back to Detroit after that. How about that? He always had Chrysler lease cars, Chargers and Challengers. Yeah. Said, as a kid, I took these muscle cars for granted. It's like they say, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. The new ones are nice, but just not nearly the same. No, they're not. They're just not. I mean, just, pump more gas, go more fast, right? That's old school. I liked it when you actually, turn the key and you feel the exhaust as much as you hear it. That's just nothing better. Dave from Capshaw wants you to know, since you had spaghetti and meatballs, that meatballs are just little round pieces of meatloaf.
That is a way to think about it.
They're meatloaf nuggets.
They're little. I guess that's what meatballs are short for. Meatloaf balls.
That's it. You basically had spaghetti and meatloaf nuggets.
Hey, I'll take it.
Adam from Athens says, great monologue, Phil. I've had the privilege to work on a 69 GTO Judge. Stop it. Be still my heart. 66 Chevy Chevelle and a 57 Chevy. My dream car will always be a 67 Mustang Fastback Eleanor. Yes. My gosh. I mean, how many times have we car guys just watched like the last half hour of Gone in 60 minutes? Gone in 60 seconds. I mean, that's just, my gosh. Okay. I mean, that one movie spawned a whole new car. I mean, the Eleanor edition is, stop it. Tom from Decatur said he might want to get an 85 to 93 Fox body Mustang with a built 302 roller motor for cruising now. Plenty available, and they are fast. You know what I saw yesterday? My dream car in high school, aside from the classic Mustangs, I'm chasing rabbits. It's my show. If I want to chase a rabbit.
Hey, no one's stopping you.
Was an 82 Mustang GT. It's the only year they made the 82 that had the rear spoiler and the front air dam with fog lights. And I had a friend that had one in high school, and I hesitate to say that I coveted, but I coveted his 82 Mustang GT.
I mean, I feel like everybody would covet that car.
I mean, there you were in high school, you're looking at what was essentially a cool car that had a 302, but it was a 5-liter 302 with a 5-speed. Just cool. John from Huntsville says, Phil, spectacular monologue. Also, did you see that some of the cities are removing fluoride from their water? John, where are you right now? And then he says, by the way, there's a tornado warning for Lincoln County, Tennessee, and they already had a confirmed tornado earlier in Lauderdale County. Wow. Okay. John, settle down, bro. Like one text at a time. But thank you, man.
He's got to get it all out in one.
I know. And then Allie from Athens checking in saying, we had a 66 ragtop Mustang. Oh, yeah. He said, we sold that one to go to the mission field, and I've never regretted that decision, but I will tell you straight up, I do miss that car. I hear you, sister. I hear you. And then lastly, John from Rossville, Georgia says, Phil, we love your reminiscence about the 69 Pony. My wife and I had a 66, and we loved it. So I used to sneak out of the house to drag race my 58 Olds Rocket 88. No kidding. So that was in high school. So now you know I'm one of your senior listeners. Love your show. John from Rossville, Georgia. John, we appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for being a Rightside ruffian from the Peach State. All right, listen, let's jump on in. I've got the first dipper is called Fool Around, Find Out. There's a whole lot of that going on right now. And you know what's interesting is what sparked this for me was a story about one congresswoman, a Democrat, who thought that it'd be a hoot for her to go and protest and show those ICE people about deportations. And she got all up in their business, and now she's being indicted. So it spawned me thinking through the fact that what we're watching is a return to the era of accountability. Have you noticed that? That's what gets me, is we are watching a return to an era of accountability. Like, maybe actions have consequences. How about that? Wouldn't that be a novel idea? Think back through the last 4 years of the Biden administration. Did you see anybody truly being held accountable? I could think of one, and that was that kind of freak show guy, Samuel Brenton, the cross-dresser, non-binary fetish kink expert who would steal luggage at airports, and he had a top secret clearance, and he worked on nuclear energy. I never understood that hire. It was a total DEI hire. That guy, the only reason why he quietly went away was because they caught him stealing luggage. I mean, that was his jam. He would watch people in the airport, he would steal their luggage, and then he would wear their clothes and take pictures of himself wearing it. And that's the only guy I can remember in the last 4 years who there was some measure of accountability, and that was only because he was too embarrassing to keep on staff. Bald head, bright red lipstick, dude wearing a dress. Just anyway. But did you see anybody be held accountable for, I don't know, things like, lack of due process, or arresting Granny for praying outside the abortion clinic, or I don't know, how about the debacle of the Afghanistan pullout, 13 service members who died? Did you see anybody being held accountable for the lack of border security? Did you see anybody being held accountable for the economy, for the gas prices, for the energy sector, for anything? And the answer to that is no, you didn't.
Not only were they not held accountable, a lot of them were promoted.
Oh, yeah.
It's like your failures is what promoted you.
They just failed up.
Doing the right thing. Get them out of here.
Just failed up, man.
Doing?
What? Accountability. That's silly. Why would we do that? Well, when there's no accountability, whether it be for criminal activity or just negligence or recklessness, all it does is breed more of it. We're back in a place right now where accountability is actually one of the watchwords. And I know that there's a bunch of people out there that are like, I want someone from the Epstein list. I want someone to be arrested. Okay, I think some of that's still coming. But what we're also watching is some of what I would call the tier twos are being held accountable. Like, people are losing their jobs for bad performance, or for partisan behavior, or for an inability to set aside politics in the workplace, or for attempting to undermine the current administration. Or how about this? You've got like grants being canceled for organizations that don't do a thing to curb anti-Semitism on their campuses. Or how about this? A congresswoman who was indicted today. And I'll tell you more about it after the break. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. I tell you what, man, I'm looking at a story right now that fires me up. This is breaking news. I'm going to go ahead and just give it to you real quick, and then I know you've got something in a second too, JP. But y'all may recall Laurel Libby, Maine State Representative Laurel Libby, has been on my show 2 or 3 times, and she is the one who stood up and said no when the powers that be in Maine told her she had to be silent as a state representative on the issue of transgenders in women's sports. She took issue with it, and she was taking issue on behalf of her constituents. And as a result, she was censured by, literally, she was censured by the Speaker of the House. And on a party line vote, she was denied the right to vote or speak on the House floor as an elected official, meaning basically that her constituents had no voice, despite the fact they had elected her to do what she was doing. Well, we just got word in the last few minutes, like during the break, Supreme Court has now ordered the Maine House to restore the votes of GOP lawmaker Laurel Libby. So yeah, the Supreme Court on Tuesday ordered the Maine legislature to count the votes of a GOP lawmaker who had been censured after she identified a transgender teen athlete in a social media post. The court majority sided with Representative Laurel Libby, who filed an emergency appeal to restore her ability to vote while her lawsuit over the punishment plays out. There were 2 noted dissents, of course, Sonia Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson, but the rest of the court in a 7-2 vote said, you can't do this. So basically, until the merits of the case play out, the Speaker of the House fooled around and found out. That fits. Put me an applause on that one, man. That just fit this dipper perfectly. Outstanding. Good for her. Laurel Libby. What a warrior. Getting in the mix and doing the things that she does. What do you have, bro, before I go on to the next thing? Do you have something else?
Oh, we got a comment on the X live stream. This is Kip from Morgan County. Says, first car was a 57 Chevy with a 327, 375, and a T10 rock crusher.
Nice.
Second was a 66 Mustang GT2 plus 2 fastback. Those were the days, my friend. Kip from Morgan County.
Outstanding. That's good stuff. I am told, this is anecdotal, but I am told that when we moved to Germany, when I was a baby, right, we got stationed in Germany. Dad was Army, and we get over there. There's a limited edition version of the Mustang. They couldn't sell Ford Mustangs in Germany because there was something over there already called a Mustang. So all the Mustangs that were sold in Germany at the time were called Ford T5s, and so they're kind of rare if you can find a T5. I am told that when we got there, someone picked us up from the airport in the 2+2 fastbacks, they called it, because it had 2 seats front, 2 seats back. But it was a T5 version, and I was a baby, and I promptly threw up in the back seat. So my first ride ever in a classic Mustang, and all I could do was throw up in the back seat on the guy's brand new car.
Nice.
2 text messages, and I'll jump back in. Mike from Florence, Alabama says $5 gas was a good bit in the 1980s for a 67 Ford Fairlane GTA until you left the pump not realizing you left the cap off. Oh, been there, done that. Good thing about 68 Mustangs was the cap was actually attached. So, but yeah, and those are the days too. I can remember, because you didn't have cards. You don't understand this. This is where you open the ashtray and you'd scrape out some change, and you buy 79 cents worth of gas to get home.
Yeah, I've never been there. No.
Done that more than once.
I've tapped my card since I've had a license. So.
Jeez. See, I literally remember I'm pulling up to the pump thinking I wasn't going to make it home, scraping out as much change as I could find, digging around on the floor, finding a few more pennies, and I bought 79 cents worth of gas. And the guy looks at me and he goes, "Big spender tonight." And I said, "Got to get home." But when you cranked up the 4-barrel going down the Parkway in Huntsville, gas goes quick, right? Eat more gas, go more fast. Chad from Huntsville says, Phil, my first car was a 65 Mustang. Oh, is that the one? That must be the one he just texted in. He says, my first car was a 65 Mustang 2+2, sold in 74 for $300. Wow. Okay, let me get back to the news at hand. Do I have time? I'm not sure I'm going to get the story unpacked.
Got about a minute.
Okay. Well, let's just tell car stories for a minute. I will say this. This first story of the fool around, well, actually, I guess that Laurel Libby story was the first story of a fool around find out. But the first one I've got when we get back, under Title 18 U.S. Code Section 111A1, Alina Habba, who is, you may recall Alina Habba. She was very much involved in the Trump campaign, but she's the acting U.S. attorney for the Northern District of New Jersey. And she just came out and said, you know what? We need accountability. And we are not going to let a Democrat member of Congress shove law enforcement officers around and pretend it's okay. Because all it does is degrade the ability of law enforcement to do their jobs if people think that they can get pushed around whenever they feel like it. And if you saw the video of Congresswoman LaMonica McIver, LaMonica was having herself a moment. She was having a complete meltdown. She went complete people of Walmart and had a complete come apart because ICE wouldn't let her just demand her way in the gate to go see things at the ICE detention facility. It was awful. It was ugly. It was unbecoming. It was unprofessional. And oh, by the way, it was illegal. When we come back, I'll tell you about the details of what is now going to be her indictment. Bill Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Just plain right. Well, welcome to hour number 2 on a Taco Tuesday. I'm trying to figure out where hour number 1 went. It just flew by. Got several text messages I'll get to here in a moment. I got to tell you, there's breaking news left and right. So 2 things have just happened. Right now, as I speak, from the Oval Office, President Trump is announcing the Golden Dome missile shield. And he's talking about a $25 billion initial investment in a ballistic missile shield, much like the Iron Dome that Israel has. I mean, if you saw, by the way, Israel, did you see how effective it was when Iran tried to launch ballistic missiles and drones like in a wave? It was like a wave attack, and I don't think hardly any of them made it through. Now there was some Air Force capability. I mean, they interdicted some, with air to air, but a lot of it was the Iron Dome also doing its job. Trump is saying we're going to have the Golden Dome, and he is announcing that right now as we speak. That's breaking news. The other piece of breaking news is Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth just announced just a few minutes ago, and I see it posted here on Twitter, that there is a brand spanking new review right now of the U.S. military withdrawal from Afghanistan, saying in his memorandum when he issued it just a little while ago, he said the administration's chaotic withdrawal of the U.S. military and embassy officials from Afghanistan led to the deaths of 13 U.S. service members. And he says, over the last 3 months, the department has been engaged in a review of this catastrophic event. I have concluded that we need to conduct a comprehensive review to ensure that accountability for this event is met and the complete picture is provided to the American people. And to meet this imperative, I'm directing the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Public Affairs and the Senior Advisor, Sean Parnell, to convene a special review panel for the department to thoroughly examine and blah, blah, blah. But the bottom line is, he says in all caps at the bottom, he says, this team will ensure accountability to the American people and the warfighters of our great nation. That's a fool around, find out moment right there. The Democrats hoped that we would bury it. You were telling me we were off the air that, who was it? Was Sean Ryan or who was it said they
It was Sean Ryan, yeah.
Yeah, what did he say?
So he was on Tucker. They did a podcast yesterday, and he talked about how close he got to having Kamala come on the show, and that they were talking back and forth. Oh, what would you like to talk about? What do you want to bring up? And he mentioned he wanted to talk about the Afghanistan withdrawal and how that was
he's a former SEAL,
a big disaster. And they just kind of went dark after that. Stop talking to him. They had no interest coming on anymore.
Like a cricket sound effect ought to be effective right about now. Hey, would you come on and talk about Afghanistan? Yeah, no doubt. So here I am. I'm doing this dipper right now. I'm calling it Fool Around, Find Out. But what it really is, it's a dipper to talk about the fact that I said earlier, we are in an era of accountability. Unlike anything we've seen in recent years, we are finally seeing people's feet being held to the fire. And right there, you just saw the Secretary of Defense, you heard at least, the Secretary of Defense announce that accountability is the reason why he's extending the review process on the Afghan withdrawal, and rightfully so. How about this one? Let me get back to the story I said I was going to do. I hold it here in my calloused former paratrooper hands. Dateline yesterday, Fox News. Federal charges have now been filed against a Democratic congresswoman following her confrontation at the ICE facility. If you didn't see the video, it's worth it. All you got to do is look up LaMonica McIver, which is spelled M-C-I-V-E-R. LaMonica McIver. Are you looking it up right now? How about that? You can put it up? Okay, tell me when you're ready. She, you'll see her, because in the video, if we can get this thing put up real quick, you'll see her in a bright red jacket, with, basically just pushing her way around, pushing police officers, screaming in their faces. The body cam videos showed and heard just amazing profanity, like the kind that drill sergeants shouldn't be allowed to use. And at one point, I know for a fact, I watched it, she actually elbows a police officer in the back of the head, trying to get him to move out of the way. And she has now been indicted.
It's up on the screen right now. Yeah.
Okay, I'm watching it right now. There's the Newark mayor being arrested, and here she comes in the red jacket. And there goes the elbow right there in the back of the police officer's head. And she is just pushing that weight around and telling him what she thinks. Don't you know who I am? Well, guess what? We know who you are. She says, we were fulfilling our lawful oversight responsibilities. Sure, that's what you were doing. You weren't making a scene. This wasn't a demonstration for political, pundits and to create a circus. Says we were fulfilling our lawful oversight responsibilities. Our visit should have been peaceful and short. Yeah, it should have been peaceful and really short. Instead, she says, ICE agents created an unnecessary and unsafe confrontation when they chose to arrest the mayor. Okay, that's what happened. ICE was the one at fault. ICE is the one who called over there and asked you guys to please come over there and make complete jokes of yourselves. She says the charges against me are purely political. They're meant to criminalize and deter legislative oversight. No, they're not. Not at all. Because ICE turned right around and said, listen, if y'all want to actually schedule a tour, we'll meet you at the door and guide you through. So Fox News has learned that McIver must turn herself in as soon as possible, though it is up to the magistrate on the specifics of when she must turn herself in and how. Perp walk, anybody? Can we have a perp walk? Hello, perp walk. Newark Mayor Raz Baraka was originally charged with a Class C misdemeanor for trespassing, but they did decide to drop those charges. And he says he's glad the charges were dropped. He also says, I stand with LaMonica, and I fully expect her to be vindicated. I don't. I expect her to be prosecuted. I expect her to take a plea deal. I expect that it will happen pretty quickly because she won't want it on her record. And she knows that if she gets a felony, which this is a felony, that she's looking at possibly losing her seat in Congress. So I look at her pleading down to a misdemeanor and doing some community service. But you know what? It's called freaking accountability. That's what it's called.
If they were to go there and just kind of grandstand and hold signs and protest or whatever, sure, completely fine. The problem is when she got herself in trouble is when she buries her elbow in the back of a police officer. So you're not above the law.
That's right.
And it's so if it were political, they would have arrested them for protesting at all. She got arrested for assaulting an officer.
Go sit on the steps of the Capitol with Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker and sing, old spirituals and pretend it means something. But don't go push around police officers and call it okay. And by the way, before any of you liberals who actually watch the show or listen to the show start texting in about January 6th, let's understand this. I've said from day one, if you put your hands on a police officer, you were wrong. I don't care what January 6th had otherwise. If you put your hands on a police officer, you were wrong. But the reality is the majority of the Jan 6 was literally just like way overblown. But in this case, we've got the footage. And the entire Police Benevolent Society, the local police union, ICE, the Department of Homeland Security, they all came out and condemned this behavior. And they said they want to know why it was allowed to happen this way and why she thought she could get away with it. And guess what? She's not getting away with it. Now, Hakeem Jeffries is already saying, don't you dare. And the Trump administration is going, don't we dare what? How you like us now? I thought you were the one saying, no one's above the law. Remember that? No one's above the law.
Well, Phil,
unless you're a Democrat.
The law is a one-way street. You know that. It's only against Republicans. It doesn't go both ways.
Not no mo. Next story I got in the Fool Around Find Out. Did you realize it's an hour and 14 minutes in the show and I'm only on the second story of the first dipper?
Well, we technically did a dipper on cars already, so it could be a quad dipper day.
That's fair. How about this one? Harvard's having a little trouble. I say Harvard is having a little trouble. So Harvard lost another grant. The Department of Health and Human Services has canceled another $60 million in grants to Harvard University. They are bleeding money right now. But wait, there's more. So the termination of the $60 million in Centers for Disease Control and Prevention related funding, they had a $60 million grant for research, I guess, through the CDC. Canceled. Harvard has now seen nearly $3 billion in federal grants or contracts frozen or canceled. The university has now sued the Trump administration in late April, refusing to negotiate on a series of suggested reforms. Okay, how about you fool around and keep finding out? Guess what? There was a letter that was written by the Harvard Presidential Task Force on Combating Anti-Semitism, which concluded in an April 2025 report that some of the instructors at Harvard had actually done what was called, quote, mainstreaming and normalizing what many Jewish and Israeli students experience as anti-Semitism and anti-Israeli basis. They're mainstreaming it. You got faculty there, tenured, I'm sure, who you can't get rid of. But then let me ask you this. How is it they can lose $3 billion in grants and they don't want to change their behavior? So what they do is they go in and they immediately re-earmark $250 million from their central budget to compensate for the lost federal funding. Oh, you mean you had the money? Then why are we sending it to them? By the way, Harvard has a $53 billion endowment. $53 billion endowment. Harvard says they can only spend a small fraction of that, though, at a time, because 80% of it is earmarked by a certain donor. So 80% of that came from one donor? My gosh. How do I get adopted by that person? But all said and done, Harvard's got money. They just want your money because, well, they fooled around and they found out, didn't they? $3 billion lost. But you know what else is doing? It's having an impact on politics. So we'll take a break right now. I'll come right back and I'll tell you what fool around, find out means in the political realm. Like, are we going to see some districts flip because of some of the stuff that's been going on? I got a story here from the Daily Caller. You're going to want to hear it. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Pulling pins on truth grenades. That's what we're doing. Ed from Madison sent in a link that I saw during the break of a tricked out Mustang. And if I'm not mistaken, they were putting a tank engine into it. Like, what is going on there? Yeah, that would be one tricked out Mustang. So fool around, find out. That's the first dipper. That's where we are right now. Look, I got a story here for the Daily Caller. I told you a minute ago about how the Trump administration is canceling so far over $3 billion in contracts and grants just to Harvard alone because of anti-Semitism, because they won't quit. I mean, even the findings of a presidential task force that said, we see it, it's there, and students are asking for help with this, and then lo and behold, you'll do nothing. Okay, guess what? No more funding for you. No funds for you. What does it mean politically, though? Are we going to see it? Are we going to see it causing a change? So how about this? Daily Caller has a story that says New York Republicans are hoping they can actually flip a largely Orthodox Jewish Brooklyn State Senate district that has strongly backed President Trump in recent years, as Democrats continue to struggle with anti-Semitism from certain corners of the party's coalition. All right, what we're saying here is, yes, it can have an effect. You might fool around and find out there are ripple effects of this. So maybe you're doing nothing, Democrat Party, on anti-Semitism. You're too busy, being just too understanding of Hamas and Palestine. You're allowing students in your districts to pay good tuition to not be allowed to go to class because there's a whole lot of anti-Semitism on their campus. They're having to hide and lock themselves into the library and avoid certain sidewalks and all the. Anyway, bottom line is that can't happen. And what we're seeing right now is there is real belief that certain state Senate districts, which are pretty broad, by the way. My state Senate district was 3.5 counties when I was in Alabama, but in New York, you're looking at right now a largely Jewish Brooklyn State Senate district could flip, and that's the kind of thing that we're seeing happen. I got one more on this. In fact, let me dig down in my pile here because I had another one here it is. On the opposite end, down yonder in the southern reaches, Florida's Miami-Dade County is flipping red in voter registration for the first time in history. In history, JP, in history.
That is really crazy, actually.
Right there.
If Miami's a massive city. That's not a small thing.
No, it's not. It's not. It's just huge. So for the first time in history, since Daily Wire Dateline yesterday, there are more registered Republicans than Democrats in Florida's Miami-Dade County. Can I have some applause? That's a good one. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Florida's Voice reported 464,000 Republicans and 440,000 Democrats are now registered to vote in Miami-Dade County, which has been one of Florida's blue strongholds. It'd be like saying that suddenly Jefferson County, Alabama flipped red. Because right now it's pretty much a given. You're not going to get anybody elected in central Birmingham. You're just not. It's a Democrat stronghold, even in a red state. Well, that's the way it's been in Miami-Dade County forever, like in the history of ever. Miami-Dade County has now completed its off-year voter roll maintenance. And this morning, it shed 172,000 voters from its active rolls, which netted Republicans more than 38,000 voters. And they're going to scream. They're going to say it's a fix. All they're doing was taking the dead people out. Anyway, all said and done, between the DeSantis and Trump administrations, Florida is largely moving further and further into the red zone. Well, because they fooled around and found out.
What I see from that is people in Miami have been reaping the benefits of DeSantis as their governor.
Yep.
And we're like, oh, I actually kind of like this stuff.
Yeah.
And, it's, I would say DeSantis is like the most impactful conservative governor in America right now. So I think they're finally waking up. Be like, this stuff, it's pretty good, actually.
Actually works. In his tenure as governor, this article says from Daily Wire, DeSantis governed as a staunch conservative. He took massive heat for keeping the state open during the COVID pandemic. He signed legislation requiring government employers and contractors to use E-Verify. He terminated cooperation with a program to relocate illegal immigrants. He advocated for school choice. He banned the teaching of critical race theory in schools. He banned China from buying land in the state. He handled disasters like Hurricanes Ian and Nicole like a champ. And he was widely praised. And he also banned men from competing in women's sports as far back as 2021. And he gave a $5,000 bonus to anybody who wanted to move to Florida to be a police officer. I mean, like, how about this? Lead from the front, man. And Miami-Dade County flipping red. A couple more on this and I'll wrap this dipper up. Can I get it done? I got about a minute left in this for the break. How about this one? We are now learning from James Comer, House Oversight Committee Chairman, that they are sending out subpoenas for the people who ran Joe Biden's auto pen. Oh, yeah. Fool around and find out, baby. During that period of time that Biden was in office, he issued thousands of clemencies, says Wokespy. Wokespy, Dateline yesterday. Clemencies and presidential pardons, including to his own family members. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, everybody does.
The last thing he did before he got out.
Yeah, on the way out the door, by the way, we're all innocent. Whoop, whoop. However, the use of his auto pen extends deep into his presidency. He issued numerous executive orders, and it's now that he was likely unaware of what he was doing, says Comer. So Comer says they're sending out the request for people to come in and take depositions. And if they fail to comply, they will be subpoenaed. They're getting to the bottom of it. Listen, that's nothing but good stuff. All right, folks, Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. Rightside ruffians out there. You are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show right here, this show. Woo. I mean to say, it goes like from Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I'm talking about all the way down to that lovely little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the border from there to what we now get to once again call Fort Benning. Fort Benning. And then big old patches of North Georgia and Mississippi all thrown in just for good measure. And that, by the way, is just the radio. Then there's the online audience, the podcasting audience, and we thank you. We thank you more than you could possibly know because, listen, JP and I could sit here in the studio and push buttons and talk into a can, and it wouldn't make a bit of difference if it weren't for y'all being out there. So we love you and we appreciate you, and thank you very much. I'm going to get to a couple things here to wrap up this dipper and then get some text messages before I go to the next piece. But I got to tell you, we got a thing going on. So a reminder, Rightside Radio that you're listening to right now is just one production of Rightside Media, the parent company. Rightside Media, we do all kinds of stuff. We got the written work, we got the radio show, of course, and then we've got multiple podcasts. And we just had several more podcasts come out of the last couple of days, one of which is JP's Out of Right Field podcast, sports-based. We had Birdman's Right Click, which is tech and gaming-based. We had the Controversial Mom with Emily Jones, Moms for Liberty. And really proud of this. I wish we had a drum roll. We got to get a drum roll sound effect.
Yeah, we do.
I wish we had a drum roll because right now we got a thing we're starting tonight. So we got a brand spanking new long form podcast. Basically means we're going to have deep dive conversations with some of the most interesting people you have ever met. And tonight, and I see you put up on the screen. Thank you very much. Tonight, the very first one, Warriors of Faith, Family, and Freedom. I'm interviewing former Navy SEAL Jared Hudson at length and talking about his time on the SEAL teams, his fight against human trafficking, and then what it's like to have the faith that he does and still be in a place where he's taking people out on a regular basis as a former sniper in the SEAL teams. We'll talk with Jared Hudson tonight. It goes out at 6 o'clock. It's called the Just Right Podcast with Phil Williams. And this is the first round. Some of y'all, by the way, who are on our text lines, we rarely do this. We don't want to abuse the privilege, but tonight we're going to send out right around 6 o'clock. We're going to be sending out a text to many of y'all, and you'll see it, and it'll announce that, hey, that podcast rolls out tonight, and we'd love for you to check it out. We'd love for you to subscribe to it. It's on YouTube, and if you do, that would mean the world to us because YouTube then lets us do more the more that people subscribe. Last thing I'll tell you, shameless plug. In honor of the Just Right podcast with Phil Williams kicking off tonight, we have a promo code on the Rightside merchandise store. So t-shirts, coffee mugs, our bin shot bulletproof influence glasses, hats, all of it, stickers, all on the Rightside merchandise store at rightsidemedia.org, rightsidemedia.org. 10% off. Everything's 10% off as long as you use the promo code Just Right. So there, I feel like I did a whole dipper just on new stuff happening. I love new stuff happening.
It's all good new stuff.
It's all good new stuff happening. Hey, last couple of things I got. I'm closing out this dipper, and I wasn't going to get to them. I was going to let them, but I can't. I got to do this. So in terms of the fool around, find out, what's amazing to me is we're not just watching like pure Democrats having to fool around and find out. I mean, they're cleaning house right now in D.C. and in the establishment and even in the military. Story broke on Fox News yesterday. A retired 4-star admiral who was once the Navy's second highest ranking officer was just convicted of bribery and other conspiracy charges. Get this. 4-star Admiral Robert P. Burke, 62 years old, was found guilty on Monday of this week of a scheme to direct lucrative contracts to a company in exchange for them giving him a $500,000 a year post-Navy retirement job. Yeah. Facing 30 years in prison. At one point, he was in charge of U.S. naval operations in Europe, Russia, most of Africa. He had thousands of people under his, and he basically got all these contracts kind of steered over this company in return for them giving him a job. And he fooled around and found out. It doesn't work that way. I'll stop it there, and I'm going to go on and get some text messages. You guys are amazing. All right, look, some of y'all are still commenting on the monologue and the cars, and I am loving the car stories, so send them all you got, especially Adam from Athens, who had everything from a GTO Judge to a 66 Chevelle. He says in high school the saying was $5 to stay alive at the gas station. Yes, $5, man. I could get downtown with that and back. $5.
$5 can't get you much in gas nowadays.
Listen, $5 back then, I could put gas in the tank, buy a burger, and still have a little pocket change.
My old gas guzzling truck, $5 would maybe get me out of the neighborhood. Maybe.
Of course, that's assuming that I was not doing my Dukes of Hazzards impression down Bailey Cove Road.
Yeah.
Okay. Pete from Decatur says, I wonder if the press will cover the LaMonica case with the same fervor they covered the George Santos case. I don't know. I'd like to see them giving it the same amount of time they gave to the Jan 6 Commission. How about that? By the way, another piece of breaking news was today. The only person who actually died at the Jan 6 event at the Capitol was a protester named Ashley Babbitt, who was unarmed and was shot dead by a security guard who they gave a medal to for shooting her dead as an unarmed woman. Ashley Babbitt's family sued, and the Trump administration just settled with them for millions of dollars, I believe, as of yesterday. So millions of dollars. I heard upwards of $5 million. It will never bring their daughter back. But I'm glad the Trump administration said, we're not going to fight this. We're going to settle it. We're going to settle it the right way. And while they're at it, can they take the medal back from the security guard that shot her? Wouldn't that be something? Jerry from Decatur says, looks like the New Jersey rep was going to be singing, I fought the law and the law won. They're born. There it is, Jerry. Tom from Decatur says, unfortunately, people like Representative McIver and Whoopi Goldberg have cried racism for so long and so often they've spawned the new whole, yeah, I get it, the fatigue thing, I get it. It's a mess, but they've got to quit. Dana from Athens says, a perp walk right off the Congress floor. Wouldn't that be something? John from Rossville, Georgia says, need your prayers. All of North Georgia is under a serious tornado threat till 11 p.m. Eastern time. Well, blessing, Lord, we do pray for our listeners. We do pray for our state. We do pray for our neighboring states. Father, we pray in Jesus' name that you would calm the winds. You are the God who calms storms. And we pray for it in Jesus' name. How about that? Bless them, Lord. Ed from Madison said, oh, that's right. I already said that one. That was the tricked out Mustang he sent me. Rat from Athens says, Sean Ryan said he knew it was time to get out of the seas when he saw them give a Bronze Star for keeping a snack machine filled. Oh, come on. Please tell me that's not true. And then Dan from Huntsville says, a little late to the game today. Did you see the Supreme Court stepped in support of the censored legislation? Yes, I did. We talked about it a little while ago. It's huge. Laurel Libby, breaking news. She's been on the show multiple times. I just texted her a little while ago, said, celebrating with you. But she was banned from being able to vote or speak on the House floor in Maine. And guess what? They fooled around and found out you can't do that. Mr. Hill from Pumpkin Center. Hadn't seen you in a while. There he is. Mr. Hill from Pumpkin Center says, I remember when $5 would be a 6-pack of beer, a carton of cigarettes, the Twinkie, and 5 gallons of gas. You can't do that now. Know why? Security cameras. I was going to say, I don't think you could ever get that much for $5. Now I understand what he's saying. Randy from Madison, we'll wind it up here. He says, 76 Camaro, 350, 4-barrel, black, of course, with a red interior. Lord, I missed that car. Randy from Madison. Appreciate you, bro. I did. Listen, Randy, you didn't happen to be on the hill on Weatherly Drive in South Huntsville in 1984 and like have a little moment there with a 68 Mustang that was running open headers, did you? Just asking for a friend.
For a friend, of course.
Jim from Athens says, I remember the gas shortage and the lines to get to the designated dollar amount. Yes, indeed. And then Thomas from Athens says, had a 31.5 window Model B coupe with a 330 Hemi. There's some car people in this audience, man.
Yeah, there is.
There just are. All right, we're going to switch gears. Coming up in the next dipper here, I'm going to jump into the deportation machinations. So there's things happening right now that are really pretty amazing. First of all, the southern border is actually secure. Isn't that a neat idea? But yeah, the southern border is actually secure. And we're watching things happen on the southern border that we never thought possible. Even though we believed it could be done, we didn't think it could be done in 100 days. But what we're also seeing is we've gotten some major rulings. we've gotten some new programs. We've gotten some mojo behind the idea of deportations, and it's pretty impressive. So I'll tell you what, go ahead and move me to a break. I'll take it about a minute early. I'll let you get the buttons pushed. You know, you got to do that thing. But I'm going to tell you when we get back from this break about Trump's self-deportation deal, which just kicked off. And then I'll tell you also a little bit about what's happening with George Soros radio stations trying to unmask ICE agents. Yeah, it's true. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, Deportation Machinations, coming up. We are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Making common sense like a superpower. Those of y'all that watch the live stream, all this reminiscing about cars. This is what happens, JP. This is what happens when you let me do a monologue that includes hot rods. Just saying.
You want me to step in next time? Say, no, we can't do that.
No, don't do that. But I just decided to scroll through my phone. Right now, I only have one picture left that I can find of my 68 Mustang, which is just so awful. But I have this one picture, and I found it in a drawer in a box or something. And so I sent it to JP just now. I actually took a picture of the picture, if you know what I'm saying, so that I could have it in digital form. And he's putting it up on the screen right now. And so this is my 68 Mustang. Yes, it is, baby. Yes, it is. Had Krager mags on that bad boy, 289, hopped up, board 30 over, Edelbrock Torker Holly 600. Oh, hooker headers. Anyway, the color was called ice blue. It's not a light. It's called ice blue. Thank you very much.
Just looks like ice to me. I don't see much blue in that one.
It was a chill car, but it ran like a scalded dog. Anyway, there's my 68 Mustang. There's my baby. Thank you very much. Yay. All right, let's switch gears. Deportation machinations. So deportation machinations, the Trump administration is not only doing everything necessary, like everything you would expect, they're doing a lot of things you wouldn't expect. So in the I didn't expect this category is the self-deportation option. So first of all, you may remember the Biden administration, they actually created an app. Remember that? The CBP app. The Customs and Border Patrol had an app. And so if you were an illegal alien, all you had to do was log into the app. It's awesome. And we will help you to expedite the processing so that you can stay in America and live off the American public. It's just such a cool way of making it easier for illegals to get here. So the Trump administration saw that and said, screw that. They shut down the app for a period of time, had it retooled, and turned it into a self-deportation app. They basically reversed it. So first thing I thought was, that is like genius creative. But then the genius creative went a step further. Not only are they encouraging self-deportations, they're helping you self-deport. So I got a piece here from Axios. Phil, did you go to Axios? I did. I go these places so you don't have to. Axios. I hold it right here in my my calloused former paratrooper hands. Axios Dateline yesterday. Trump's first flights leave the U.S. under the $1,000 self-deportation deal. So if you're not familiar, one of the most creative things I've ever heard is the effort to get illegal aliens to self-deport. And if they do, it's a no harm, no foul moment. We'll fly you home and we'll give you $1,000 cash to take with you. Why is that okay? I'll tell you why it's okay. Because they did the study and they found out that the average illegal alien who is first detained, held in detention, processed through the system, given all the hearings, legal representation, and whatever else in God's name they need, plus I'm sure all kinds of things like, 3 squares a day and all the stuff it takes to be nice to them, is like an average of $17,700 per illegal. So a plane ticket and $1,000 is a huge saving to taxpayers. It also, if they will self-deport, they are taken off of the blacklist, because once you've been deported, you're blacklisted from being able to re-enter the United States. But if you self-deport, they take you off the blacklist, meaning you can officially immigrate later if you want to, and there will be no harm, no foul. This is brilliant. Now look at this and think, that's just right. Okay, self-deportation flights are one of the few incentives for unauthorized immigrants, says Axios, to present themselves to authorities under President Trump's immigration crackdown, which they say is long on sticks and short on carrots. They're here illegally, Axios. They're here illegally. But they announced it in March, and the first flight left Houston yesterday with 65 people to Honduras and Colombia. Department of Homeland Security says each one of them got a return trip for free and $1,000 after they land. In other words, no cash in advance. We'll meet you on the far side, and we'll give you your money. it's part of the overall Trump deportation plan. But what I love is the level of creativity that's involved in it. Now, I've got the DHS release on this, and here it is: to arrest, detain, and remove an illegal alien is $17,000. I said $17,121. But the message they're putting out right now is, if you are here illegally, self-deportation is your best, safest, and most cost-effective way to leave the United States. If we have to deport you, you may be going to jail. If we have to deport you, we're not giving you any money on the far side. You're not going to start your life over again. You're not taking any money home to Mamacita. You're not. We're just going to say, too bad for your luck, and get you there. And guess what? You're looking at right now, 70% savings for each illegal alien if they self-deport under this new program. That's just cool. Now, we still have some problems, but we also have some victories. Piece here from Newsbusters. You may recall that earlier this year, a George Soros-controlled company bought up a bunch of radio stations, especially in Florida. A ton of radio stations for the sole purpose of changing out the messaging and getting away from a conservative viewpoint and trying to run them as liberal media stations. Well, good luck with that. We'll see if you have an audience in about 6 months. But one of the things that happened should never be allowed to happen again. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr has said that we now know that one of these these Soros radio stations announced to the public where ICE agents were trying to warn people to get away. Soros spent $400 million buying 40 radio stations, including one of the biggest ones in Florida with a 50,000 watt signal. But the end result is, this is how he's using them, trying to basically dox and reveal where law enforcement is working. And that's nothing but creating instability and a lack of safety for law enforcement. And I hope that there's going to be some accountability on that. Deportation machinations. Now, when we get back from this break, I'll tell you, I've got a piece here from 1819 News. Our own U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville is praising a Supreme Court decision that just came out. And I've got a copy of it right here from Town Hall, as well as the 1819 article regarding Tommy Tuberville. So Trump's been fighting everything legally, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what it is or where it is. If Trump says it, it's got to go to court, right? Well, we just had a huge win in the deportation arena. You may recall there have been all kinds of injunctions that have slapped the kibosh on a number of different efforts to deport people. We just got a major win, and I'll tell you about it here momentarily. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. doing right. Well, welcome to hour number 3 on a Taco Tuesday. So, yeah, we got you all the way to go home time, and I'm in this dipper number 2, actually. I was about to say 3, but it's dipper number 2. I had to look at my list.
Technically, it's number 3 if you count the cars as a dipper, but
there's that.
The pre-planned dipper number 2. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're at 2.5.
Yeah, 2.5.
So I've got this dipper right now I'm doing on the deportation machinations, latest updates and things that are happening. U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville right now is praising what he calls a huge win for the Trump administration, and he's right. I mean, he's absolutely right. The Supreme Court of the United States just came out with a ruling that allows the Trump administration to deport the 300,000 Venezuelans, some would say 500,000, that were part of what was known as the CHNV program. That was that's just big news. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mama. Thank you very much. So you may recall back in April, President Trump tried to revoke the legal status of all the Cuban, Haitian, Nicaraguan, and Venezuelan illegals. That Biden wasn't content to just open the floodgates and say, y'all come. He went and got some and brought them here. Literally. Flying planes down to Haiti saying, who needs to go to the United States? Free rides. And next thing you know, we've got massive groups. And you remember in my listening area right here in Alabama, we had, van loads of Haitians showing up. And people were like, well, where'd y'all come from? We were told we could come here. By who? So yeah, it's called the CHNV program. It basically said that, well, those countries are scary, so we're going to let anybody who wants to come to the United States, we're just going to go get them and bring them here. Well, Donald Trump said no more to that, and then immediately a federal judge placed an injunction on it. So, I mean, let's get this straight. A president can put the program in place, but a president can't stop the program. That's what I'm hearing. A president can say, as long as he's a Democrat, I guess, or at least his auto pen can say, we're going to do a CHNV program. If you're from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, or Venezuela, we're just going to say, hey, y'all come on in. It's cool. We got free stuff. We got sanctuary cities. Some are sanctuary states. They give out everything from Obama phones to free housing to, debit cards that have money on them. What do y'all want? Come on in. And next thing you know, they're getting driver's licenses in California and they're voting in Colorado. And my God. Well, Trump said no more. A federal judge said you can't do that. And the Supreme Court of the United States just said, yes, he can. Oh, but yes, he can. So yeah, it was U.S. District Court Judge Indira Talwani who blocked the Trump administration from moving forward with the plans. And Talwani suspended the deportation warnings the government has sent out. And now what we're learning is the Trump administration brought the matter before the Supreme Court earlier this month, seeking emergency relief. And the White House argued that Talwani nullified one of the administration's most consequential immigration policy decisions. And the Supreme Court just said there is no injunction. Get to work, Mr. President. Get to work. That's just big doings. So the U.S. Supreme Court, according to Tommy Tuberville, gave this huge win to the Trump administration. And during an appearance on Kudlow, and it's too long to play it, Tuberville was on this morning, I believe, saying this. He said, quote, it's a huge win. He said, I've been to Colombia where all the Venezuelans were coming across back in the day, and we're having 3,000 to 5,000 people coming through the Darien Gap up to the United States of America. It was a disaster, and we didn't get the good ones, he said. A lot of the Venezuelans stopped in Colombia. They took 3 million in Colombia themselves, but the ones that didn't want to stay, they pushed them right on out. They came up the Darien Gap, and now here they are in the United States of America, and we're in trouble. A lot of our cities, because they don't go by American laws. He's not wrong. Look at Tren de Aragua, Venezuelan gang took over an entire apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado. But anyway, so big doings for y'all to know as you're having those water cooler conversations. Say, hey, you know what I heard on the radio? What'd you hear? Well, Phil Williams said the SCOTUS came out and they lifted the injunction. And guess what? All them Venezuelans can go back home now. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Now, I will kind of wrap this one. This is not going to be a long dipper, but it's filled up with stuff, though. I will say that. But what's amazing to me to watch is that despite the fact that the Trump administration is getting attacked with lawfare every time they turn around, it doesn't matter what, as long as it has Trump's signature on it, it's like, let's file a lawsuit. And they go and they hunt down their favorite judge of choice, and they look for at least an injunction. The lawfare issue is basically the left trying desperately to just run out the clock. That's what they're trying to do, just run out the clock. But we've got right now ICE nabbing criminals in Massachusetts. Massachusetts declared itself a sanctuary state. A sanctuary state. Despite combative sanctuary state politicians, immigrations and customs enforcement agents, though, recently arrested a number of dangerous criminal aliens in Massachusetts. So yeah, the DHS, they said, guess what? You call yourself sanctuary? That doesn't matter. That's where we're going. And they do. So right now, what we're looking at is we just saw a massive ICE roundup in Massachusetts. And we're basically saying, so yeah, that whole sanctuary thing, well, in your face. I love that. But it gets better when you realize they're doing it out in California too. They just had a major ICE roundup, a week-long enforcement operation that they say was focused on, quote, bolstering public safety. And it does. And they arrested 681 illegal aliens in 2 cities, Houston and Los Angeles. Y'all, think about this. Right now, the southern border is seeing, by the way, JP, look this up for me. See if you can see how many illegal border crossings there were in the month of April. All right. So the full month has just passed. And let me know what you find out. Because what I'm seeing right here is in just 2 cities, they rounded up 681 illegal aliens. What do you got?
In April 2025, there were 8,383 illegal border crossings detected along the U.S.-Mexico border. This represents a significant 93.5 decrease compared to April 2024, when 128,894 apprehensions were recorded.
Okay, so we're looking at they're on par right now to arrest as many as are coming across the border. So we almost achieved homeostasis. That makes sense? We've almost achieved a level of homeostasis where we're matching the amount that are coming in with the amount that we're rounding up to send away. Now that they're lifting the CHNV program, it's going to go even faster. Because I will say this, one thing about the CHNV program is we should be able to track them a little better. And then you got the self-deportation thing going on. And then you got these ICE roundups. So in Houston, ICE arrested 422 aliens. 262 of those had criminal convictions. 229 had final orders of removal on them. 126 had immigration-related violations. 34 had pending convictions. In addition, ICE said it also deported 528 individuals during that operation. In LA, ICE arrested 239 more illegal aliens. I'm just saying, it's a whole new day. And if we can keep this pace going, Trump's going to do what he said he was going to do. He's going to wind up fixing the problem. He's going to wind up returning to sender most of those who streamed across our border in the mass human waves that we saw just over the last 4 years. I also saw today, and let me see if I can find it real quick. I saw it right before the show, that there is a movement right now. There is discussion. Maybe I didn't see it on Fox, saw it somewhere else. I saw that there is a discussion right now about charges being brought against Alejandro Mayorkas, and I don't know if that's real. Is that real?
I saw it too, but let me double check, make sure that's legit.
And it was for treason, which I find to be, listen, I don't know that you can make that stick, but you can definitely find dereliction of duty, I would think. What do you see? Do you see one out there? Is it a real story?
Yeah, it's real. So there's AG Pam Bondi is reportedly preparing to charge Alejandro Mayorkas with treason, alleging he intentionally permitted 20 million undocumented immigrants to enter the U.S. and act claimed to undermine America's sovereignty.
Who's reporting that?
This was a Charlie Kirk commentary, another one by X as well. Yes.
So Charlie Kirk's pretty reliable. If he says it, then I believe that he's got something to say it with. All right, well, we'll see where that goes. In the meantime, we do have a Senate bill, and I'll end with this. So I pulled this off of FAIR. If you go to FAIR's website, it's fairus.org, but FAIR stands for the Federation for American Immigration Reform. They do a great job of tracking this, lobbying the efforts to fix the immigration system, the illegal immigration system. And FAIR has a piece right now that says that Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley just introduced a new Immigration Parole Reform Act. You may recall that part of the abuse we saw with the auto pen probably during the Biden years was this thing called parole. All that basically meant was, did you want to come here for no charges, walk across the border, swim across the Rio Grande, stream in across the mountains near San Diego? We'll take care of you. And then once they get here, if we find them, they were just processed in and put on parole. Well, it's like a prisoner being on parole. You got to check in, allegedly. You gotta, be aware you can go to jail if you violate your parole. Or they were told, okay, you're in the U.S. We got you covered. You got to show up for a hearing. It'll be like in 2 years. So just stay in touch. Okay. All right. Bye-bye. And then next thing you know, you had illegals going everywhere. Just step on an anthill and they scatter. Well, that parole program was abused. So Chuck Grassley has a bill right now that would, quote, clarify the parole statute and ensure that all future administrations are bound to Congress's original intent. The bill, which is essentially the same as the parole provisions included in the Secure the Border Act, has 10 co-sponsors, and it defines the conditions and limitations of immigration parole. And it would basically say it'd be a case-by-case basis, not blanket because, are you from an entire country that we think is, no. It has to be for urgent humanitarian reasons, like legit. It has to be a significant public benefit, like, oh, by the way, the United States will benefit from you being here. And then it ensures the parole status truly is temporary and not just a cheap way of getting them in the country and then never doing a thing about it after that. Listen, I do believe that right now, if you are an illegal alien living in the United States, you should be looking over your shoulder. You should. You should. No longer do you have just the carte blanche protected status. You're the preferred citizen. No more. And I feel for you because some of you guys came here, and I know it because you really did want a better life. But a lot of you came here because you're opportunists. A lot of you came here because sanctuary cities and sanctuary states dangled free stuff in front of you. And you said, my gosh, I can go up there and get all this free stuff. Why would I not? It was like lottery tickets for everybody, right? But those days are over. And I do believe what you're seeing right now is that members of the illegal alien community are second guessing their life choices. And some of them are going to be looking for that self-deportation program. $1,000 and a plane ticket. Go home. All right, we're taking a break right now. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We got a little blue state madness coming up. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative and just plain right. Saving the world one soundbite at a time. Tom from Decatur checking in. He says most of them, the illegals, came here for the money. So I can't tell you how many illegals I saw wiring money back to where they came from every Sunday afternoon at the Walmart Money Services desk. Yes. They said, and by the way, that's called, there's a name for that. What do they call that when they send the money?
It's on the tip of my tongue, too.
I want to call it repatriation, but it's not. It's something else like that. Remittances. Is remittances?
Yeah, remittances.
I think it's remittances.
Yes.
Is the official name given for the wiring of the money back home like that. And we looked it up one time, and the remittances back to Mexico alone were in like $63 billion a year or something like that. If we just put I hate to say it, a tax on remittances, we can pay off the national debt. Sort of. So yeah, Tom, I agree. It's something else. It says Biden gave the illegals close to $200 billion during his administration. Money will never get back. I know. At least we're stopping the bleeding, though. Change the subject. We got brand spanking new in the text line. Doesn't tell us where they're from, but it says the Mustang, my first true love, and my wife is fine with it. It says a 65 Coupe in high school, a 73 Fastback, an 86 SVO Dark Sage, one of 15. Wow. And then a 96 Coupe, currently own a 2011 5-liter convertible. Oh, man. All right. Tell us where you're from and who you are. We want to celebrate that, but thank you for joining the text lines. Rusty from Harvest says, I still have the 65 Olds 442. Oh, you really? That my dad bought new when I was in high school. Wow. Rusty, that is so cool. He said, my children ages 40 to 45 know what real cars are all about. I had a 68 Camaro when I was in high school. I could fill the tank for $6, the cheapest gas station. That was at Montgomery Ward's Auto Center, 33 cents a gallon. You know what? I used to buy gas at Montgomery Ward. I also bought gas at the Sears, which is gone now too. Sears had a gas station. One of the first credit cards we had was a Sears credit card.
Sears had a gas station.
Sears had a gas station. Walmart does now. You see it all the time.
Yeah, but that's different. It's Walmart.
But Sears was the Walmart of its day.
I guess, yeah, probably.
But yeah,
before my time.
Rusty, I'm glad to hear you got that 442, man. That is just nothing but cool. You know what a 442 stands for, by the way, JP? Originally, and it kind of got away from it, but the original 442 was 4-barreled, 4-speed, dual exhaust. 442.
Nice.
From the factory. Thomas from Athens says, Biden, January 10th, 2025, extended temporary protected status for thousands from Sudan, Ukraine, El Salvador, and Venezuela. Are these part of the 300,000? My understanding is yes. The CHNV program. Now, when you say you extended it to Sudan and Ukraine, I'm not sure that's going to go away, but the Venezuela one, yes. Also, Biden established customs offices in Qatar and Turkey, ostensibly for Palestinians. Well, I don't care what Biden started. We're shutting it down. Steve from Tennessee checking in. So I know it's illegal to yell fire in a theater. Is it illegal to yell ice? There are certain places. Listen, I tell you what, go down to Walmart on a Sunday afternoon to the customer services desk where they do the wiring of money and then just, yell ice is here and see how quickly the line clears out. Kenya from Monrovia says at 16, my mom and dad bought me a used 73 Nova hatchback with a 350. Got about 14 miles to the gallon. Yeah, buddy. John C. from Madison says, I remember watching an interview with Chuck Schumer. He said they ramrodded over 300 judges for confirmation to try and stop Trump. That's why I think that you're seeing all these. That's probably part of it. Absolutely part of it. I got more text messages and I got a new dipper. Let's see if we can do a little bit. I got some crazy stuff about blue state madness. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We'll be right back. Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Covering down on some major ground across the southeast US of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. This show covers like all the way from like Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I mean, all the way down to that lovely little village we call Auburn, straight across the border to what we now get to once again call Fort Benning. And then big old patches in North Georgia and Mississippi, all thrown in just for good measure. And by the way, that's just the radio. So the online audience, we love y'all. Thank you so much for making the online presence such a strong part of what we do. So we live stream the show every single day. Then we also take the show and we podcast it thereafter. The podcast is now roughly 300,000 downloads of the live stream of the show. And listen, we would not be here without y'all. And thank you very much for that. I got to make an announcement. Big doings around here. This is where you should have a drum roll sound effect. Have I said that already? I think I did.
Yes.
Did you not get one during the break?
No, not during the break.
Sorry. All right. So big doings around here. What you're listening to right now is Rightside Radio, which is only one of the productions of our company, Rightside Media. We do all kinds of podcasting. We got written work gets published in all kinds of news outlets. And we got a brand new thing starting tonight. So a bunch of you guys that are in the text line, the several thousand people who actually text into the show on a regular basis, you're going to get a text tonight. We would rarely do this, but we want you guys to know about it because we're really proud of the fact that our brand new podcast called the Just Right Podcast with Phil Williams kicks off tonight at 6 p.m. This is a deep dive, what they call a long form podcast. It's an opportunity for you to hear from some of the coolest people who have the most amazing stories and to go deep dive into the details of what they do and live and experience. The first one tonight, former Navy SEAL Jared Hudson. You've heard him on the show a couple of times, but you've only heard him in small segments. Imagine hearing from a former SEAL team sniper who is now fighting human trafficking, who, oh, by the way, loves Jesus and raising 2 daughters as a former Navy SEAL. And we talk about all of his story. And it's really cool. So yeah, you're going to enjoy it. I hope you'll check it out. It's called the Just Right Podcast with Phil Williams. And there'll be an indicator going out tonight, but you can find it on YouTube. You can find it on our social media platforms. It launches at 6:00 tonight, and we're pretty stoked. I guess I ought to go ahead and say the promo code again. Okay, while I'm at it, another shameless plug. So we got a merchandise store on the Rightside Media website, rightside.media.org. That's rightside.media.org. T-shirts, hats, coffee mugs. We got our Bulletproof Influence bin shot glasses. And all of this stuff is now 10% off if you use the promo code Just Right in honor of our new podcast. So Just Right promo code, 10% off all the merch. Get you a Rightside Ruffian shirt. Thank you very much. All right. And I was about to jump into just a real quick dipper, but you said you had some breaking story that came out just a minute ago that kind of relates back to our first dipper. So what was that about?
So according to Representative Tim Burchett,
I love that guy.
He's alluding to potentially that staffers operating the auto pen.
Is alluding? Is he saying they did, or is he?
He's allegedly. He's saying it, so he's alluding to it.
Right.
But staffers are operating President Biden's auto pen were allegedly taking payoffs in exchange for pardons. And
wow.
I mean, I have an audio clip of it if you'd like to listen to it. We can cut it off at any point, but I have that if you want to play it at all.
I thought you said the audio clip didn't relate. Was it?
I did find one.
Okay, you did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, just a reminder to the audience, those of y'all who didn't hear the show, the first dipper was called Fool Around, Find Out. One of the stories in the Fool Around, Find Out section was that Representative James Comer, who chairs the House Oversight Committee, just announced that they're going to begin sending out subpoenas to the people who they've discovered the names of the people who ran the auto pen and all the things that were signed. If you remember, there were more pardons and clemencies signed by the auto pen. I'll tell you what, there were more, use your words, Phil. There were more clemencies and pardons signed in the Biden administration than in any other presidency in the history of the United States. Like in one day, he actually issued I think it was 2,500 in one day. There's no way that was a case-by-case basis. And now we're hearing that they're going to send out subpoenas, and those people have to come in and under oath testify as to how that all went down. But you're telling me that Tim Burchett says there was true graft, and they believe that they've got proof of bribes.
He said that on the Benny Johnson show today.
Go ahead and play it.
I mean, that happens because of an open border, 25 million, many hundreds of thousands of children because of Joe Biden. Now we learn that Joe Biden had terminal illness the entire time he was in office. Maybe this was what all of the vacations, 577 days on vacation. Perhaps he was getting cancer treatment. We have had doctors on the program all yesterday saying all of Joe Biden's activities, the weakness, the falling, the fog, the brain fog, that's because of cancer medication. They were hiding this from the American people. What should happen to the people who hid this from us? Are Joe Biden's acts constitutional? What's your measure on Jill Biden?
Well, that'll be decided at the courts, but I'm sure we'll write somebody a strong letter and move on about it. I don't think anybody really brought to justice over this. You've got staffers. I would look. Tennessee has had a history of this. We had a governor several governors ago. He's since passed away, but he sold pardons. You can look it up. His name was Ray Blanton. It made national news, and I mean they wrote songs, "Pardon Me, Ray," and it was a cash for clemency deal. And that's exactly what I think you're going to find out. You're going to find staffers that were able to take forms, get them, and run them through some sort of bogus legal system, and then they auto pinned them. And there's probably people out on the street that shouldn't be, but somebody got rich off that. And
wow.
and I think those people, I hate to say it, but you'll see something probably horrible happen to some of those people because it goes up the chain. This is a very dangerous town to play games in.
Wow.
So you're saying
out there. That's that. All right. If that proves out to be true, then the fool around, find out just became fool around and go to jail. You know what? At this point, nothing would surprise me. There's no way in the world you can do 2,500 pardons in one day and it be okay. But this is where we are. This is what we just lived through for the last 4 years. The lack of accountability, the anything goes, the no one's going to question us because we're the ones in charge. And, and the media was complicit, and now the media is writing books and going to make millions of dollars off of it probably. Oh, wow, look at all the things that we didn't know because no one would tell us. You're the media. It was your job to investigate, and they didn't. They just sat there and went, Karine Jean-Pierre says he's running rings around everybody. I guess he's doing better than we think. Yeah. How'd that work out? Now what we're finding out is that he not only had dementia, that he also probably had cancer. And I'm not going to be a bit surprised to find out he was also getting treated for it and not saying anything. Which, by the way, some doctors say that some of what we're looking at is that the cancer treatments could well have contributed to the appearance of dementia and the tiredness and the fatigue and the inability to, the brain fog. It's just, listen, it goes on and on and on with this administration. It's awful. Holy cow. That became like a mini dipper in itself. So that was Representative Tim Burchett. Full credit to the Benny Johnson show. Thank you, JP. Good find. Would you just stumble across that during the break?
Yeah, on X.
Tim Burchett cracks me up, man.
Yeah, he does.
Tim Burchett's the man.
Well, wasn't he the one who's like, do you get mad when your mom doesn't make your Hot Pockets on time?
Exactly. Yeah. That guy keeps trying to catch him on the sidewalk. Representative Burchett, when are you going to do yada, yada, yada about Trump? Does your mommy just fix your Hot Pockets for you at night too? Wow. Rusty from Harvest is also saying he had a 65 old. Oh, did he send me pictures? Shut my mouth. Look at that. Beautiful. 65 olds, 442. Look at it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Rusty. I'm now in car envy. David from Bucky says, Phil, my wife works at Walmart on the weekend, spends a lot of time in the money center. After her days, I often recommend she takes up Spanish as a second language. During the weekend, more money is sent south of the border than anywhere else. I believe it, man. I believe it. Jerry from Decatur again checking in says millions of illegals received a get out of jail free card to come to this country. My 73 vet had a rag top. Oh, he changed subjects. Had a rag top and a hard top. Loved that car. Sold it to a second lieutenant before I went to Germany. Jerry, Yeah, in Minnesota, I thought we were from illegal aliens driving your vet. I didn't know where we're going. And then Jeff from Athens says, "Have you guys not bought Dollar General gas?" I have not bought Dollar General gas. Not that I don't like Dollar General gas. I just have no reason to go buy Dollar General gas. I've been sort of a jet pep guy myself for a while now. Brian from Harvest says, with what we've heard today, why don't you have a section online for your own car? Show pictures. It's not a bad idea. You know what? We actually did have a picture gallery, which we changed the website around and took down the photo gallery, but I did have a picture of it up there. All right, listen, let's go ahead and move towards a break. If you don't mind, we'll take that break. We'll come right back. What time? We got a caller on the line?
We just got a call if you want to take them real quick.
I got to tell you what, I got a minute. Let's go ahead and do it right now. Who have I got? Robert from Hartselle. How you doing, buddy?
Hartselle.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm just fine. Yeah, I love your show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
And but my biggest concern, like y'all talked about about a week ago, just like in the state of Alabama, we got a super majority.
Yeah.
But it's like we can't get nothing done down there.
Yeah, there's
you take the Democrats. I'm not a Democrat, but they are together. And just like I say, we're Trump's trying to pass this bill, but this Republican wants to do it this way. This Republican wants, they just won't come together when we got an opportunity to take advantage of what's going on.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you. And they better not miss this opportunity, because I do think they're going to get that bill passed. I do think that I do think we're watching democracy in action, but it's also really frustrating because I wanted it passed last month. But but I think we're going to get there. And, and I'll be honest with you, I used to be one of the Republicans in Montgomery, and it's super frustrating when you go into a caucus meeting and everybody says, we get it, we got the plan, everybody knows what to do. Yeah, we walk out the door and then people start fracturing and doing all the things different. I would love to see some leadership put an agenda in place in Montgomery and say, here's what we're going to do, and then stick with it. But
Phil, I didn't know this, that y'all only have one session a year down there. I didn't know that. I was saying, well, the session's over for the year. I'm thinking, that's it.
Yeah, well, in fact, I think we're safer because of that. but
oh yeah, you're probably true.
But yeah, they have the regular session every year. Although they can have a special session if the governor calls them in. And there was one year when Governor Bentley called us in 3 times, and so I felt like we were in Montgomery nonstop. But most of the time, it's the one regular session, and then they get out of town and do constituent work. But almost all the legislature, this is their part-time job. I mean, they're not full-time, and so yeah, they have to come and go. But hey, Robert, got to leave it there, man. Go ahead.
I know what you're probably not down there no more because you got tired of all the bull.
Well, I did get tired of the bull. I do miss some of the relationships, but I also, when I was leaving, I had a reporter ask me, Senator Williams, why are you leaving? Like there was a conspiracy theory. And I said, because everything I ran on 8 years ago has happened. We did everything I said I was going to do in my first campaign. And like a third of the legislature all left at the same time because they all said the same thing. We got it done. Got to leave it there, Robert. Got to take a break, man. You take care. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
All right. Take it to the break there, JP. We'll come right back. Last break of the day on a Taco Tuesday. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Making common sense like a superpower. A couple of quick texts, and I'll go to the phones. John C. from Madison says Republicans are terrible at staying together. I don't deny that. I've seen it work. I mean, so here's the thing. I've seen it work. Like when we first got down to the state house in 2010's election, after 2010's election, and we took the state house back from the Democrats. We came in with an agenda. We called it the handshake with Alabama, and we executed the plan. I mean, we went to town. We emasculated the teachers union. We cut spending. We consolidated state departments. We did all these things we said we were going to do, and by God, we did it. And since then, you really haven't seen that level of an agenda in Alabama. Tom from Decatur said, he sent me a picture. He says, I built this for when I find a 65 coupe for a Sunday driver. A 40 over GT40P. Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. I like it. Okay. Just sitting there waiting for something to put in that's got some rolling stock. Okay. I like it. Thank you, Tom. John from Huntsville has the grades in. Apparently, I did something to anger the grader. He says Phil gets an A- for his just okay performance. I don't know what I did.
He didn't elaborate.
He says, which means today's winner is JP with an A++ for his fantastic performance. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That was like a hurry up grade right there.
Yeah, it was.
He was slamming that together on the way out the door. Go to the phones. Jeff Rowe from Indiana. Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm running through Nashville in the pouring rain. So
oh, wow.
All fun. It's all fun. Well, I'm almost out of Nashville anyway.
well, at least you're closer to home. You're not on this side of Nashville because it would have been a long evening otherwise.
Oh, yeah. It's always long no matter how you look at it.
Hey, there's breaking news story, by the way, Jeff Rowe. George Wendt, who played Norm on Cheers, just passed away.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
That's a loss. I mean, how many times do we see Norm? But I already saw an image on somebody put up on Twitter that says it shows Norm walking to the gates of heaven and the angels all yelling Norm, which I think is pretty cool. What do you think about all this stuff, man? We talked about a lot today.
I think it's time to take a sledgehammer to the auto pen.
Yeah, I do too.
Because we're going to have to make a law because who knows? I mean, we're going to have to go back and deconstruct all this because with so much stuff being done that Biden didn't even know about, of course, he couldn't have known about because he was incompetent.
That's right.
But even the people around him that, we can't just let the people that's around the president when he's incapacitated, make decisions like this, and especially if they're taking bribes and stuff. So,
yeah,
we're going to have to change the way we use this thing because it's very dangerous, I guess you'd say. Because look what all you could do with an auto pen and say, well, this is coming down from the president of the United States. This is how we're going to do it.
And I can see
what's going on.
I can see where the auto pen might be used for sending a greeting card to somebody or signing a quick note or something ceremonial, and it's okay. I get that, but I don't think the auto pen should be used for executive orders, pardons, and commutations. That should not be done. That's just asking for trouble.
Yeah, like you say, if it's to somebody, happy birthday or something, that's fine. But anything above that is anything that's put into an executive order or anything that can actually mean something. The guy has to actually sign it. I mean, there's no way around that.
Yeah, and if you got to do that many in one day, first of all, I would question why you would need 2,500 in one day anyway. But if you got to do that many in one day, then go ahead and set aside the day and break out a whole new pack of Bic pens because you're going to just need to sit there and do it yourself.
2,500 in one day because cha-ching, somebody's on the payoff. They have to be. Otherwise, why would you do it?
Well, I hope you heard it a little while ago. Apparently, Representative Tim Burchett from Tennessee is saying that's the case. And I did see where Representative James Comer said they're going to start subpoenaing the people who had access to the auto pen to get them to come in and testify under oath what happened.
Yeah, and my biggest pet peeve is I'm so tired of anybody who's in the upper echelon or whatever just getting a light tap on the wrist for stuff like this and everything. If it's shown that these people took bribes and everything, they should go do some hard time for years. I mean, we got to put a stop to this, and that's what the trouble is. It's just like with cashless bail, well, I can go do this and get away with it.
Yep.
They're just going to slap me on the wrist. I'll just keep doing it again.
Yep. It's true, man.
We need to make some examples.
I